What is up, Honey Badger Nation, man? Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Expert Mentors Live. And man, we are in for a treat today. You know, kind of a little bit of a milestone here, episode 250. And nobody better to have in the house with us than Mr. Knolly Williams. What's up?
John Kitchens. What's up, my man? Hey, I really appreciate everything that you're doing for us, especially, you know, the Honey Badger Nation, everything you're doing here for us, man, because you've been consistent. I mean, when we talk about that word consistency, it's so important. You keep showing up, boom, 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 boom. And it really is a reminder to the rest of us, man. So thank you. 250, baby. What's up?
250, baby. I love it. I appreciate that. You know, and it was funny, you know, when this whole Expert Mentor series came about, it was actually Kyle. Kyle Whistle was the one that kind of brought it to the forefront, and him and Beer, and they jumped on with Kinder and Stasik. And, you know, Kyle was like, you know, hey, here's the deal, man. We got so many amazing leaders and teachers and coaches and just great humans that are honey badgers. And, you know, what we find is that, you know, those type of people that excel, they always want to give back in some capacity. They want to lead, they want to mentor, they want to share. And so that's really where it started. And funny to your consistency, Kinder goes, well, there's only one guy that I know that can stay consistent with this. And he's like, he hit me up. He said, hey, here's what we need. I was like, all right, let's go. And,
let's do it. Yeah.
It's been a fun ride, man. You know, I learn just as much as anybody on these calls and on these conversations. And you're definitely hitting a hot button for me when it comes to real estate and really, because I think it's a maximizing in the return on your time.
Absolutely.
No and diving in with listings today. So yeah. I'm ready to rock.
Ready to rock and roll. Well, I've got, you know, unusually, I've got a slide deck today because, and you already know, John, that typically when Uncle Knolly's in the house, we don't do slides. We just roll. And the cool thing about this is I'm going to go through the material rather quickly because we've got about an hour. Am I right about that?
Yeah. We've got the hour here for the honey badgers and really just being able to pour into them as much as we can. You know me, we were already off. You know, we weren't even live yet, and I was already asking questions. Like, hold on, let's go.
Let's go. You know, and so let's kind of, even though typically when I do this, I just go through this the presentation. Because your dialogue is so critical, we can conversationally go through this. You know, I'll present, and if you ever like, hey man, hold on a minute, I want to unpack that for a little while, then we'll stop, we'll park it and unpack. And so there's actually 5 things that I want to really share, and I'll unpack what that is here in a minute. The cool thing, I mean, this is an emerging market. When you look, the advantage that you and I have, John, of being in the position that we're in is we've got, you know, hundreds and hundreds of agents, in your case, thousands and thousands that you oversee. And we get to see kind of okay, what's going on in the market? Like we can kind of keep our finger on the pulse of what's happening in all across the really across the world, but specifically across the United States for sure, and Canada. And so what we're seeing, man, is that this is an emerging market. Listings is always going to be the king of the game. Okay. And you and I talked about what in the world would keep agents from, or just, you remember that question you had about why don't agents go after listings from the beginning?
Right. Yeah.
You know, when I got my license, I took 21 listings in my first 74 days in the business. And I know that because I was I signed with a company and I was there for 74 days. Okay. It was Prudential. Back then it was Prudential. And long enough to realize that, you know, they were getting 60%. I was getting 40%. Okay. And I said, wait a minute. Let me do something different. And, you know, I left there, went to Remax, was there for 5 years, loved every minute of it, became one of the top 10 in the state of Texas. And then I was recruited to Keller Williams by Gary Keller. And I still would be there had it not been for the incredible model of EXP, which is so revolutionary. You know, I'd still be getting my like Netflix. You probably remember when you used to get the DVDs in the mail. you know. And I thought that was cool. You know, I was happy. I was like, oh, I got a new DVD, you know, watch one movie at a time. So, but let's look at this, man. So the reason why a lot of agents don't jump right in is number one, confidence. And I was scared to death, man. When I got in the business, I got my license in June. It took me till December, okay, to practice, to even join a company. Because what I was doing was learning the game, reading this book, reading that book, listening to that podcast, And I mean, back then, I really wasn't podcast, but we had we had some cassettes and CDs, and everybody kept telling me listings, John, everybody in my office, you know what they were saying? Man, focus on buyers, join a team, focus on buyers for a couple of years, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and then you can graduate to listings. I didn't believe it, John. I said, I'm going straight for listings, but I didn't have the confidence until I gained the knowledge and I created a system. So most agents, because they don't have, either they don't have the experience or they don't have a system. And we're going to talk about both today. So I'm going to really cut that 5 to 7 year learning curve off so that you can jump right into listings immediately. 96% of my focus has been on listings, took over 1,000 my first 10 years. And I'm now dedicated to paying it forward. You know, I took more than 10 listings a month for more than 10 years in a row. And it was basically one listing at a time. It wasn't like I was listing for a builder or foreclosures where I got a bunch of them at a time. It was one kitchen after, you know, literally, right? It was one kitchen after another. You know, that's where we usually have the listing appointment. So now I'm really dedicated to paying it forward. I do speak all over the nation. I'm actually going back on tour. I've got 3 dates in Texas. I'm going to be hitting Dallas. I'll be in Houston and Austin just this upcoming month. And then after that, we hit Hawaii. We'll be in Atlanta. I'm hitting like 20 cities this year. So we'll be making sure that, you know, the Honey Badger Nation knows where Uncle Knolly's going to be, right? So you can catch it live, because the live show is really fun. We do 3 hours. I want to thank you for being here. You know, I know a lot of you guys tune into podcasts and you're dedicated to your training. So thanks for hanging out with me and John today. Take your time to really consume this. If you're watching this after the fact, you know, have fun with this. No side. This is what I say in my live classes. I even tell them no chewing gum around Uncle Knolly. That's really just a joke. But I had one time I was in a class and the lady swallowed her gum. I was like,
oh, hold on.
Hey, we're allowed to have fun here, aren't we? Yeah. So talking about the paycheck that you'll never spend, I want to cover this real quick. And I'm going to be kind of going through the content pretty quickly, John, because I do want to have time for Q&A. But if at any time, man, you just hold up I'm watching you. You just hold it up and say, hey, man, stop, you know. But I was I was in a coffee line years and years ago. I was at a different company. And this guy walks up to me and I'm waiting in line like everybody else. There's a long line, you know, at these big giant conventions, thousands of people. And, you know, probably, I don't know how many people in that line, at least 50. And he says, are you Knolly Williams? So I looked around, I'm like, man, ain't too many black cowboys up in here. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, dude, that's me, you know, like, and I'm looking at him like, do I know this guy? You know, you meet a lot of people at conferences and stuff. And he says, man, I've never met you, but I want to share with you what you've done for my family. I said, what? Your family? And I've never met you. He said, man, I watched some training that you did on listings. And I got to tell you, I was on my way out of the business. My family was all telling me, go get a real job. Stop trying to do real estate. And I watched that training that you did, man, the training series, and it gave me the confidence. I went out, I took over 60 listings in the last year. And what it's done for me is it's helped me to consistently put food on the table for my family, and it saved my career. Once he told me that, John, and this is what you're doing too, John. I mean, you're here week after week, man. You'll never hear all the stories of the people that you have helped save their career or save a deal or get them back in the game or double their production just because of what you're doing here every single week. So I commend you for this, man. I call it the paycheck that you'll never spend, because anytime I'm in like a down mood, I just think of that guy and the many that have come since him that have helped me to see the light. What I'm going to talk about today, why listings are the best opportunity in real estate right now, why and how to transition your core business into listings. Because a lot of you're listening right now, you're like, man, I'm buyer heavy and I really don't know how to get a handle on switching to listings. How to win the listing before you ever meet with the seller. We're going to talk about that. How to earn more money and work less. That's very important to me. And then how to get all the success tools that I've used and still use to take over 100 listings a year for 10 years in a row at no cost. Okay. So how can you get all that stuff that I use for free? I'm going to show you how to do that as well here. So, I am a international speaker, thought leader. I'm averaging 5 stars on Google, which is hard for, John, this is hard for a trainer to do. And you're an international trainer. A lot of people, if you don't have good product, good service, I sell stuff, I sell coaching, I sell products. And if you don't treat people right, your rating can slip. I have over 200 5-star reviews on Google, and that's for a reason, right? So I'm going to kind of jump through some of this stuff a little bit. There is a 46-step system to listings. And what I learned, John, was there's only 5 of those steps in Texas. Now, and that's also in most states. I've got agents in 30 plus states. In most states, there's only 5 items of the 46-step checklist. And by the way, step number 1 is to generate the seller lead. And step number 40 is to close the transaction. And then there's 6 steps after that. But only 5 of those require a license. So I thought early on, John, I said, why am I going to do the other 41? If only 5 of these require a license, I'm going to get leverage from the beginning. And that's what I did. And this is why I was able to eventually get to the point where I invested only about 3 hours in the life of every listing. Let me say it again. From the time that I took the listing, appointment, and that was about maybe 30, 45 minutes, sometimes an hour. And through the rest of the process, I invested about 3 hours per listing. And I'm going to talk about that as well, of why listings are just such a great opportunity. Here's one of my coaching clients. When she first came to me, her and her husband, Angie and Tex Fleming, and they basically had 0 on the board. And some of you guys know what that's like. You look up at your board, there's nothing on there. You have nothing in the pipeline. That's a dangerous place to be. Well, that's where they were. And within a couple of months, they were knocking it down, and they're utilizing the information I'm going to share here with you guys. She just sent me just last month, fifth listing agreement just signed for the month of January. Signed 5 listings just by following the stuff that I'm going to share today. There's 3 kind of people that I help out there in the real estate world or the business world. There's newbie Ned. Okay, that's the first time brand new agent, maybe just a few years under your belt. And when you're a newbie, like newbie Ned, what Ned needs to do is get his feet under him, and he's confused about what to do. Mm-hmm. So Ned's problem is what? He's got a what problem. Now, coasting Crystal, this is where we find most agents. They do a few deals, 3, 4, 5 deals. They do some deals with family, and then they start coasting, and they're doing like 7, 8, 10 deals a year. They fall into this complacency. Maybe they're doing 20 deals a year. I was talking to a guy last night. He makes 100,000 GCI, but he knows he should be at 300. Okay. Mm-hmm. And he can be at 300 without working any additional hours. But right now he's coasting Crystal. Crystal has been in the business for some time. She's gained a clientele and it's semi-steady business. But what she needs to do is maximize her impact and income and move from feast or famine mode. Okay. And then her biggest issue, what my slide here, let me see, is how. So coasting Crystal has a how issue. Yeah. She kind of knows what to do, but she doesn't know how to move to the next level. And then of course we got Rockstar Rick, and we got a lot of them here in the Honey Badger Nation. Rockstar Rick is, he's on fire. He's making good money, looking for ways to grow his personal business life while working less. So this is the person that is doing, 70, 80 deals, but they're working all the time. Mm-hmm. Okay. And Rick desires to grow grow. And his biggest issue is who to hire. Okay. And it's really like a trust issue. Like, who can I trust with my business? So that he can grow to his ultimate potential. So depending on where you are, if you're newbie Ned, your problem is going to be what should I do? If you're coasting Crystal, it's going to be, man, how do I even do it? How do I get from where I am to where I should be? And if you're Rockstar Rick, it's going to be who. You're going to have a who problem. Okay. So we're going to look at these today. Now, why listings? Okay. Now, when you think about seller listings, Focusing on seller listings will allow you to get what you want faster and allow you to have what we call a life. I remember when I took my first cruise, it was back in 2008, and I had a rockin' listing business. I was doing tons of production. So I got my license in 2004. And when I took my first cruise, I was the #1 real estate agent in Austin, Texas. There was about 9,800 agents, and the Austin Business Journal put out a report of the top 50, I guess it was that year. They do it every year. And I was #1. I did 96 transactions through MLS as a solo agent. Okay. And I was not working all the time. I was going on cruises like the one I went on. And I was scared to death because I was like, man, what's going to happen to my business? But I just allowed a few people in my office to babysit my listings. Okay. At EXP is so easy. You just jump on Workplace or get a few people that you trust because it's not like they're really, they're just babysitting the deal, right? For 7 to 10 days. If it goes under escrow, it's not like you're going to pay them a split. It's just what I did was I paid them, hey, here's $250 for babysitting. Any listings that go under contract, I'll give you $250. If buyers come in, you get those leads. Okay. So now what would happen? And when I went on this cruise, I had about probably 18 to 20 listings active. There was a time, John, and you may remember these days, there was a time when I had 121 listings. Okay, either active or pending. Why? Because they weren't selling. But guess what? I was still selling 3 or 4 a week. I just stacked up. I had a whole bunch of them. My inventory was stacked. So the thing about it is, if I had 10 or 15 buyers that I was actively working, some people might think that's a good problem to have, but you're not going on a cruise. Unpack your bags. Okay. You got 10 or 15 buyers ready to buy. You think they're going to wait 10 days for you to get back? No. Okay. Sellers are so much more forgiving. In fact, the cool thing about sellers, John, and you know this, whenever they would call me on a night or weekend, the first thing they did was apologize. Knolly, I know it's after 6 o'clock. Knolly, I know it's Saturday. I really apologize for calling. You think a buyer's going to do that? So when you look at it, Gary Keller wrote a book. I still have it. It's a good book, good reference. Millionaire Real Estate Agent, where he said there are so many great reasons to devote all of your time and effort to taking and marketing listings. A lot of times when I ask real estate agents, I say, hey, how much of your time do you want to devote to taking and marketing listings? They're like, I want to do 50%. I want to do 40%. I want to do 60%. Well, Gary, he's a pretty smart guy. Okay. He probably, in my opinion, would get with the modern times if he could. Okay. He built a machine that can't do it. But he said to spend all your time on listings. So that's pretty much what I did from day one. All my time and attention. John, I never marketed for a buyer my whole career. You can go back and I did a ton of marketing, still do. Though you'll never find anything where I talked about the interest rates, anything buyer related. Never. It was all about what could your home be worth in today's hot market? Are you thinking about selling? Do you know somebody thinking about selling? It was all that kind of messaging. And that's why I attracted a lot of sellers. So I'm going to give you 10. We're going to start it off with 10 reasons why listings is the name of the game. So number 1, seller listings really mean more marketing opportunities, period. Mm-hmm. So if you've got 10 listings, now you've got 10 signs, 10 billboards, 10 marketing pieces that are in yards across your city. Okay. Or in your area. And every single one of those is going to be marketing for you. I like to say listings have babies. So for every listing that I took, John, I wanted to have 4 closings. Let me say it again. Every time I took a listing, I wanted to have 4 closings. Number 1, I wanted to close that listing. Okay. And I wanted to get at least one more listing through the marketing activities that I teach. One more listing that came from that, from me having that one, out of the neighborhood. And then I wanted to get 2 buyers that did buy, because you're going to get a lot of buyer leads if you market right. Okay. But you should end up with 2 that buy. So the potential of 4 closings for every listing is huge. Even if you only have 1 for every one, that's pretty cool. But you could have 2, 3, or even 4. Mm-hmm. And that's why, seller listings just mean more marketing. By the way, the number 1 way to get more buyers is by having more listings. So those of you that love buyers, you really get more control of your time because there's not that sense of urgency that you have with buyers as there is with sellers. Sellers are super patient. I could be in Greece or Italy, or I can be somewhere in Puerto Rico or wherever I'm at. And I actually have a home in Puerto Rico now. And a seller would tell me, hey, let's wait till you're back in town and let's talk about it. Let's meet. Well, I'm going to be back in 2 weeks. No problem. Or we can do it all by Zoom. No problem. I can send you the paperwork. That's how I do the majority of them now. Probably 90% I do by Zoom. They get the paperwork. And I actually I never see the property until I already have it listed. That's a whole nother level of the game. A lot of people don't have the confidence for that level. So we're going to keep it kind of simple today. But that's more of an advance. But I'm just telling you how I do it. Reason number 3 why listings should be the number one thing that you focus on this year and going forward in your career is that seller listings will maximize your per hour compensation. So it usually takes a lot less time to obtain and market a listing prior to selling than it does to show for and sell a buyer. A lot less. Okay. Mm-hmm. And in fact, what we've learned is when you look at this slide here is that you can work about 15 to 20. This is research. Okay. By the way, you can work about 15 to 25 seller listings a month and keep it up. If you're highly leveraged, what does that mean? That means the only 2 things that you focus on is you generate the lead and you go on the appointment. Okay. Now you might even get to the point where I was, where you just generate the lead. You don't even go on any appointments anymore. I had several people that were so good at going on appointments. I gave them 30% of the listing commission when it closed, just to do presentations is all they were doing, really. I generated the lead. They went on the presentation. They got 30% at close. I got 70%. Okay. Now, I'm not telling you should do that right away. You should get all the experience you can, but that is another level of the game for you in the future. But you'd be hard pressed to work 7 or 8 buyers. So you can work about 1/3 as many buyers as you can listings. Yep. If you want to work 2 buyers a month, guess what? You can work 6 listings a month in the same amount of time. Mm-hmm. And what does that mean? You make triple the income in the same amount of hours. Do you think your family would love that? Discuss that with your significant other. They'll tell you to switch to listings right away. Reason number 5 is that increased market awareness. One thing that I learned, John, was that every single time that I did a CMA, a market analysis, I was gaining an advantage on my quote unquote so-called competitors. Okay. So if I took 6 listings that month, I did 6 CMAs. Okay. If I did 10 that month, I did 10. And what I was doing was I was really gaining a knowledge of what the industry was doing by doing 2 or 3 CMAs a week. I actually knew what the market was doing before it happened, because I could tell my client, hey, this is what I've been seeing, because you actually are in the game at that point. Okay. And so that's the cool thing about listings is you're always doing market analysis and you have a heightened sense of what the market is doing. And that really translates into you being a better expert, right? That's what we're talking about. So reason number 6 is that listings actually bring you more business, and we're talking buyers and sellers. So the number one way to generate more buyers is if you have the listing inventory, they're going to be begging to work with you. Okay. And if you have a buyer agent on your team, all the merrier, to where you don't even have to worry about it. Reason number 7 that I've always liked is that once a deal falls out of escrow for whatever reason, I don't have to hang my head. I'm not upset about it. I just pop it back active. It's a keystroke. My assistant goes into MLS and boom, she just pops it back. It's popping back active, y'all. Ooh, and that's how we do it. And, yeah. But guess what? You working with a buyer and they get cold feet. Guess what's going to happen? First of all, let's just say the inspection report comes back and it's bad. Okay, so now if I'm on the listing side, the guy, the gal calls me and says, "Hey, Knolly, it's looking real bad." I said, "Oh, how bad is it?" They said, "Well, it's real bad." "Oh, well, tell me about it." I'm not worried, because the more you tell me about my property, now guess what? When I pop it back on the market, I'm going to tell you everything that's wrong. This is messed up. It's got this bad with it. This is toe up and whatever it is. And I'm just going to disclose. And bring your best offer. You know, now I know what's wrong with it, and you just did me a favor. Now, if I'm on the buy side, guess what? And the buyer's like, nah, we're getting cold feet on. They've been looking at houses for months. And now guess what they do? They're talking about, well, we're gonna go on the sidelines for like 2 months. We just want to wait. What? Now you got them on the sidelines, or best case scenario, they want to go out looking again. And you got to go put more gas in your car and hit the road. Okay, sweating and trying to two or three more months to find them something. So the reality is, it's so easy when a deal falls out when you're on the listing side. Reason number 8 is that you can run your business from anywhere. Okay, I take a lot of listings from right where I'm at. I'm here in Puerto Rico, wherever I am. This guy, for those of you that are not looking at the audio version, I'm showing a guy in his bathrobe. I mean, he's dressed underneath. Okay, he's got pajamas on, but I'm saying he just got the 2 thumbs up. He just took a new listing, and it doesn't matter. You can be anywhere, right? And you can do this. It's just the way that things are on the listing side. Reason number 9 is you get to adopt the buyer. Now I'm going to unpack this for just a while, because I had a guy call me up, and this has happened at least probably, I would say it probably happened 100 times. Okay. One of the things that happens, John, whenever I list a property and, you know, it closes, the buyer goes into my database. Okay. That buyer goes right in. They go in my database. Okay?
Absolutely. They do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will never call that person. So like, let's just pretend, you know, John Kitchens and I are in the same market. Okay. I won't actually ever call his quote unquote client. But see, what a lot of people don't realize, John, is they're like, well, that's my client. Well, it was your client. But when you close the transaction, you're no longer in office. See, when you work with a client, it's transactional. So you are elected as the mayor of that, for that client during the period of when you're under contract. Okay. Once you're no longer under contract, you know, you're out of office. Okay. And somebody else can get voted in, like Uncle Knolly. Okay. Or Big John Kitchens. I mean, we can get voted in. So what I do is like if John and I were in the same market, I would never call that guy that's on his list, but I do drip them.
Mm-hmm.
I drip them real good. Drip, yeah. Drip, drip, drip. I drip them real good. Yeah. Cause here's the thing, John, and you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. Man, they're getting my text messages. Now, if John's doing his job, they're gonna be like, who is this fool? The cowboy hat trying to sell my agent is John Kitchens. I don't know who this fool is. Stop. They're gonna hit stop. They're gonna opt out. They're gonna delete. They're going to say, man, stop calling me. They might even put some explicatives up in there, you know, because they're working with John Kitchens. That's how they roll. But if it's like most agents, okay, I'm going to say 90% of you that don't stay in touch with your people.
You're being generous, Knolly. About 97%.
It's about 97%. and this is like I had a guy, reached out and called me. He says, Knolly, he said, I want to sell my house. And this has happened so many times. He's real memorable because he happened to live across the street from me at the time. And so I was like, who is this guy? Because I couldn't remember. And he wasn't real friendly and everything after he moved in. So I didn't really get to know him. And so I was like, oh, yeah, he's in my neighborhood. I sold him that house. That's the easiest listing appointment ever. And you do it over the phone. Okay. So I called him up. I said, hey, Roger, you called me about listing your house. You're really serious about selling it, huh? Yeah, Knolly, I'm real serious about selling it. Well, I've sold that house before, right? Well, of course I know you sold it before. That's why I'm calling you. Well, I can sell it again, right, Roger? Yeah, I'm sure you could sell it again. Boom. I asked him 3 questions. I just got the listing. Yeah. Done. All right. Well, Roger, all we got to do now is decide on price. When do you have time to pop on a Zoom so we could look at it? Done. Okay. And so I adopt the buyer, and I end up with a lot of orphans that come to Uncle Knolly and they call me to list. Yeah. Right. Because I've been staying in touch with them the whole time. And reason number 10 is that seller listings are highly leveraged. Okay. What does that mean? We know that leverage is people, systems, and tools. And one of the things that I do, John, when I'm at my listing appointment, if I'm there in person, or Zoom, it doesn't matter. But if I'm there in person, I just look at them. I say, and I don't do this until they sign the paperwork. I look up at him and I say, Mary, I'm kind of sad right now. She's like, well, why are you sad, Knolly? We just signed up with you. I mean, what's going on? Well, I'm kind of sad because I'm not going to see you again. What do you mean you're not going to see me again? Well, we just signed a deal. Well, Mary, let me explain to you how my operation works. You remember, well, let me ask you this first, Mary. Have you ever flown on an airplane? Well, of course I've flown on an airplane. Well, back in the day, you're probably too young to remember this, but back in the day, the first person you saw when you got on an airplane was the captain. Okay, you get on the airplane, they'd be outside, they greet, hey, welcome to the flight, welcome, hey, thank you, welcome. And then they go in the cockpit. That was the first person you saw. Now, the last person you saw, guess who it was? That's right, the captain. When you were getting off the plane, the captain was greeting you. Back then, they'd even shake your hand. I mean, things have changed. It's gotten crazy, the airline industry. We know some crazy things have happened, and now they kind of hide up front. But let me ask you a question, Mary. Did you see the captain during the flight? Did you see the captain during the flight? Maybe he went to the bathroom once or twice, but if you see the captain, like let's say the captain comes over to you handing you some peanuts or pretzels, or gives you a blanket or a pillow, or asks you how you're doing, or takes your drink order. You think the captain's going to do that? No, the captain's never going to do that. I mean, if we see the captain during the flight, we got a problem. And here's the thing, Mary, I'm the captain. I'm flying this bird to Seoul. That's where we're going, right? Seoul? Yeah, that's our destination. Well, guess what? I'm going to be in the cockpit. You're not going to see me. I've got a whole team. Anytime you need anything, they're going to handle all the details. But you're not going to see me during the flight. And but guess what? The captain was there the whole time, and so will I be. So if you ever need me, I'm there, but you're not going to see me. And they're like, oh, Knolly, we want you in the cockpit. Don't worry about it. As long as he. And then guess what I just did? I just wrote myself an excuse to not really have to be involved in the transaction because I don't want to be. Okay. That's not income producing. I already generated the income. Okay. When I generated the deal. So the only time that I would even pop back in is if I needed to negotiate an offer or something like that. But I actually have somebody that does that for me as well. Okay. So the point is you can take this as far as you want it, but when you are working a rock-in listing business, it's super highly leveraged. And you have the potential of it being that way. Okay. Right. Whereas with buyers, you can actually kind of do that, but it's going to be a lot more difficult to convince a buyer that you're not going to be around. Okay. Yeah. And so that's the top 10 reasons, man, why I like listings. I'm going to keep going. Is it okay to keep going, John?
Yeah, keep rolling. We'll come full circle.
We're going to come full circle in about 10 minutes. Yeah, about 10 minutes. We're going to get through the next piece. And then I'm just going to stop and we're just going to dialogue this thing, man.
You got it.
So one of the questions that I ask myself is the one thing. There was a book called The One Thing. Gary Keller wrote it. What's the one thing I can do to XYZ? And what I asked myself was, what's the one thing I can do to get more listings such that by doing it, everything else would be easier or unnecessary? And I asked this question a lot of times to my mentorship masters, my group here at EXP, or might even ask a fellow honey badger, another agent. If you had only one thing you could do, what would that one thing be? And they tell me things like, I do door knocking, I do lead generation, I'd make phone calls. Okay, you only get to pick one. Okay. If I said you could do only one thing, and they have a lot of different things that they bring up. I'd start farming. Oh, I'd pick a niche. My one thing would be this. But you know what my one thing was, John, from way back, and it really worked out, and it's worked out for a lot of my students, is to become famous. Yeah. If I could pick one thing to do, because guess what? When I do that one thing, become famous, guess what? Now when I knock on doors, and I'm not talking about being worldwide famous, I'm talking about being famous or well-known in the areas that you serve. Uncle Knolly, pretty much people in town knew who I was. If I knocked the door, they knew the cowboy hat. Okay. If I was in the grocery store, if I was out, if I picked up the phone and called them, they knew who I was, become well known. And I think that's a principle that too many overlook. To me, the golden key to your success is really becoming well known in your area. Here's a guy, Troy Tomlinson, that I taught this to. He went to school to become an accountant. He spent $60,000 in 6 years of his income. And he says, be a celebrity. Thank you so much, Knolly, for that lesson that I spent 6 years and $60,000 elsewhere to find. And that's God's honest truth. So I'm going to just quickly share the 3 secret tools that I use to really set me apart, and how you can get all my stuff, without paying me for it. But number 1, I have a seller book. So what that looks like, I don't know, those of you, if you could see, so I've got a book. It's actually a book. Okay. It's got a vendor service directory on the back that covers the entire cost of all the printing of the books. Okay. So, and basically the way I use my book is, if people have questions around real estate, I just give them a copy of the book. Hey, I'm thinking about selling my house. Okay. They really don't want to talk to me right then because it's just thinking about it. So I give them a copy of the book, and that way they can think on it without me, hovering over their shoulder. When you go on a listing appointment, just think about this. What percentage of the things that you tell a seller do you think they retain? Like you're there for an hour talking on and on and on and on, like I'm talking now. What percentage do you think they actually remember through the transaction?
Very little.
Very little. And that way with my book, guess what? I talk about how to get your home ready for the market. So once I've given them the checklist of things to do, and then they're like, Knolly, what was it that you said I need to do to get ready for the market? Oh, I'm glad you called. That's chapter 4. Go back to it. It's only 6 pages, and it'll tell you everything you need to do. Once you're ready, let me know. And then, okay, I'm ready. How are the showings going to go again? Could you explain that to me? Sure. That's in chapter 6. It's only 5 pages. Go back and read chapter 6. It's going to help you all about showings. How are we going to show your house? Now, once we got an offer on their house, guess what happens? I say, hey, Mary, we got a super good offer. I mean, I think it's a good offer. It's really up to you. I don't want to interject. I think it's a great offer. I want you to look at it. You and Todd look it over. And once you guys have looked it over, go ahead and look at chapter 7 of my book along with the offer, and then reach out to me with any questions you have. Guess what? Our phone conversation is like 5 minutes, okay? Because I don't have to spend an hour with them because they've got my book. Okay, now we're ready to close on the sale. What was it that we have to bring to closing? Oh, that's in chapter 8. So glad you asked. So actually what I'm doing is I'm utilizing my book sort of as an assistant to help me through the process. And it also helps me look famous to my clients. Okay. I can't tell you how many listings I've gotten just from having a book. The other thing that I have is a pre-listing packet. Now, if you are good without a pre-listing package, you'll be on fire with one. And when we talk about building your confidence, when you've got a full pre-listing package that's just phenomenal, you go in there confident. So,
Yes.
I've got my marketing plan. I've got seller testimonials, which I never call them testimonials. I call it case studies. Top 4 reasons why homes don't sell. Got the document for that. The agent interview sheet, which is gold. I've got a seller homework packet and many other things in my pre-listing package. So let me just share with you like my seller homework packet. It's 4 pages. And I when Barbara reaches out, she says, hey, Knolly's going to be out there 2:00 tomorrow, or if it's not me, whoever it is, make sure you have the homework packet filled out and 2 keys. And then right before the listing appointment, she calls an hour before. Okay, we'll be there in an hour. Make sure you have the homework packet filled out and 2 keys. Now, when I get to the listing and appointment and the homework packet's filled out and there's 2 keys there, guess what that tells me? I already got it. So that's the pre-listing package. And the third item that is that you got to have is a sales video. It's a pre-listing video. So what that does is it really helps you win the listing before you ever meet with the client, with ever the prospect. And that video is going through, it might be 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes. It could be 3-4 minutes, but it just basically goes through the highlights and it gives them a chance to warm up to you before they meet you. And what I like to do, John, I like to put all of these elements, now we used to do the pre-listing video DVD. Now it's just a QR code. But we put all of that in a gaudy yellow envelope. Looks like this. It looks terrible. Okay. But guess what happens? When it's on their front doorstep, a couple of days before I arrive, they open it right away. Okay. And they get it off the front porch before the neighbors see it because it's gaudy, man. It's big and yellow, big yellow envelope. And so it really comes in handy to help them that way. So finally, I'm going to show you the final thing I want to share is how to get everything that I have, all the stuff that I just showed you. Because I had a student, I used to teach this kind of stuff, John, to my students, write your book here, do this, put this together, your pre-listing package, blah, 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 blah. And guess how much of it they would actually do? Like really none of it. So finally, one student just said, man, can I just use your stuff? And so I actually license it now. Doesn't cost a dime out of your pocket. And I'll kind of walk through that very quickly. I call it the dream life, earning $250,000 or more a year, working 20 to 30 hours a week or less, nights and weekends off, 4 to 5 vacations a year, and being debt free. I was here by my 4th year. Actually, I was at the $250,000 mark by my 2nd year in real estate. And I was at all the other marks within my first 4 or 5 years in the business. And continuing on this, the problem that I see is that most agents just don't know how to succeed at really becoming well known. But what if you could just like remove 100% of the risk? So it's all about kind of duplication, not reinventing the wheel. I know Jay and Michael are big on this. Why duplicate? Why try to reinvent the wheel when you can just duplicate? I've already done it for you. I call it the Overnight Celebrity Listing Success Toolkit. In fact, John, I was at an event, and this guy walked in. I got an arrow right over his head, and he basically, this is Richard Anderson. He was homeless when he came into that event. He was living in his car. He was a brand new agent. You can look him up. Brand new agent. He had never closed. He'd never even worked with a buyer or seller ever. Okay. And he picked up this toolkit, man, and he went on his first listing appointment, his first appointment of any kind. He was one of 6 agents interviewed, and he got the listing. $539,000, took him off the street, and that was his very first deal. And he didn't have the money to invest in it, but he did. So you really don't have to know anything about becoming a local celebrity, because that's what I've already done. I've been studying that for years. And here's what it actually comes with. I'm going to show you how to get it at no cost. It's the editable seller guide, the pre-listing package. I don't even think you know about this, John. The presentation video, the team member job descriptions, operations manual, all this stuff that comes with it. And basically, I'm going to skip right into how in the world do you get it for free? Because we normally sell it. It's $997. Obviously we do the Honey Badger discount, $300 off. But here's how you absolutely get it for free. By the way, people ask me all the time, how much are the books cost to print? They're $3 each, and you won't even have to pay for your printing of the books. Okay. So we have a special code for that, SWL 2024. You go to knolly.live. That's the coupon code, SWL 2024. So real quick, I want to show you guys how to get it for free. And then we're going to, I want to open up for Q&A, because I know John's got some, I see John's writing down stuff. So we're going to get into that. So the book actually acts as your virtual assistant. It really has helped me or helped many sellers convince themselves that they want to work with me without me having to be around. Okay. So how do you get it free? So basically what we did was just like, you might find a calendar or some kind of a book put out by your local, Little League, and they say, hey, I want you to sponsor. We need a realtor sponsor. Okay. And it's $100. Well, it's the same concept. So on the back of the book, I actually designed a vendor service directory. And if you look at the back of it, it's built in. Okay. So you've got a handyman, an inspector, a house cleaner, a carpet cleaner, a mover, and a painter. Each one of them pays you $99 a year. Now, just imagine this for a minute. Your handyman gets to go on tag along with you on every listing appointment that you take over the next year, your handyman. And so when you're at a listing appointment, you say, hey, remember that that back bedroom that needs to be that has the locks that need to be replaced, or the doorknobs need to be replaced. And we talked about these couple of repairs. Here's my handyman. Here's an inspector if you want to do the pre-inspection, like we talked about. You definitely need to have the house cleaned. Here's who I recommend. Let's get the carpets cleaned while we're at it. And here's who I recommend for that. By the way, when you're ready for a mover, here's the mover I use. And those 2 back bedrooms that are burnt orange, let's go ahead and paint those. Here's my painter. You know, you don't have to use these people, but call them up. They usually give good rates. Okay. So they're going to piggyback with you for 99 bucks. Okay. You charge them $99 a year. And then $299 is right in the middle. You'll have a preferred lender that pays you $299. Now this is every year. So I give you a proven call script, an email script, a vendor enrollment form that you send out to them, back cover template. And really after you've gotten your 6 yeses, you've already raised 900 bucks. Okay. And what that does is it covers the cost of the license. Cause what I'm doing is licensing it to you. Okay. For less than this price. But every year you'll be able to get that $900. Okay. In advertising. And at $3 a book, you can actually print 300 books at no cost to you. Okay. So that's every month you'll have 25 books that don't cost you a dime. Okay. So it really becomes a no-brainer. Your investment's $697, $900 a year is what you make. And that's the way I kind of figured out, John, how in the world can I get this to people? It is copywritten information, but how can I get it to them without them having to dig in their pocket and be fully compensated for it and not have to, pay for it? So that's basically what I did. So Knolly.live, coupon code is SWL2024. And with that, I'm going to just kind of open up the mic, man, because we don't have much time left, do we?
This is gold, Knolly. I man, great stuff. For sure, being able to unpack it and share everything there. That's really a part of the listing side of things, and just kind of tracing back and walking back through the whole conversation. We talked about, the reason that agents, they don't go over to that side. We talked about confidence, and then they don't have the capabilities, the systems, the tools. They just, sure, like you said, even with the what, the how, the who, that comes with it. But, before confidence, it all starts with the commitment. And
absolutely.
I think for, the agents listening in, obviously success leaves clues. There is a path there. People have been able to do it before me and have great success. And even some of the people that we see are like, if that dude can do it, I know I can do it. Right. So I think it's the commitment and then the courage to just go after it and then develop those capabilities and, the reps. And what we have found, it's about 20, 25 reps, live action of following the system, not winging it, but following the system. You got it down, right? Absolutely. I mean, it's about what it is. It's about a couple dozen times. And, the telltale for us is that, following the process, if we got any objections, we knew we were missing something in the system. Right. We were missing something. We were skipping a step. And so even in our training, just nonchalant, we would ask, hey, how did it go? What objections did you get? And whatever they would say, we would like, okay, well, you understand why you got that objection because you skipped this step. So it takes about a couple dozen times. You're not getting objections anymore. You're like, okay, I'm nailing it. I got it. Now I can pour more gas on it. And I can get to that 10, 15, 20 a month ratio as long as I can generate the traffic to get to that point. And so I love that. You're so spot on. It is, we've done all the case studies, we've put the stopwatch to it and actual person time versus actual time with listings. It's a quarter to a third less time, right, to work with the seller from start to finish than it is working with the buyer from start to finish. We've done studies in multiple markets, backwards and forwards. It always comes out. In fact, we do our yearly kickoff with GoGo on kind of the state of social media. And we talked about this on this year's episode. We talked about it. She's like, guys, you have to go to the listing side. You have to understand the value. And GoGo's she's just so pigheaded when it comes to what your dollar per hour is worth. And you don't do those things. And so why, production, you're going to be over there. One of the things though, that really did stand out and the reason, guys, to add to what Knolly's saying is when you have listings, you become so much more attractive. And that's what we want, right? We don't want to chase, we want to attract. And we talk about that, right? We talk about attracting business, attracting other agents. You know how you become attractive? You go get more listings.
That's right.
because it's going to bring more listings, it's going to bring more buyers, and it's going to bring real estate agents to you. They're going to be like, Knolly, dude, you're crushing it. I see listings all the time. What are you doing?
Right.
What are you doing? Right. So you fall in either the newbie, or it's like, man, how are you doing that? And so you grab those characters that are in the marketplace, and those are the characters that are going to want what you have and what you're doing to be able to get to that point.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree with you more. You know, the attractiveness, and you talked about become famous. And if you truly want more market share, right? So market share is preceded by mind share. And then how do you create mind share, right? Become famous, become consistent, become so many impressions on the marketplace, no matter where they go, right? And this was kind of our secret sauce. Is like, literally, you could not go down the street without seeing our sign, seeing our billboards, hearing us on the radio. Oh, you're going to watch the news? Oh, we're going to be there too. Oh, are you going to get a phone call from somebody in our office? Yep. Are you going to get something in your mailbox? Yep. If you're on our list, are you going to get something in your inbox? Yep. And so, like, you couldn't go a day without having an impression of us.
That's right.
And that's how you dominate, right?
That's right.
Mind share,
That's right.
then market share. And really, it's all about listings. And those, Knolly, the agents that I've had the opportunities to work with over the last decade, the ones that embrace a listing centric organization, everything they wake up, they go to sleep thinking about listings, are the ones that have created such a gap in their marketplace that the only way that anybody would catch them is if they just stop.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is, when you are listing centric, you'll succeed in any market. I mean, there's always going to be a reason why someone needs to sell, and there's always going to be a reason why someone needs to buy. But the cool thing about the listing side is you basically, that's the best way to market proof yourself if you become a listing specialist. And when we talk about this confidence, I've actually watched it. I've watched people with my toolkit. It's not like it's magic or anything, but they actually have stuff like they've got a book with their face on it. Because basically all my stuff is completely editable. It's in Microsoft Word. So you just pop my picture off and put yours on. And then it's almost like they just put a cape on, dude, because they're rolling up in there like confident, like, man, I got, and it's really, that's not what's really getting them the listing. It's helping, it's helping them shave time, but it's what's boosting their confidence. And what happens is when you sit down in front of a seller, there's something about human beings. We've talked about this before, energy and all that. I can energetically feel you. And so whether I want to or not, from a subconscious standpoint, we energetically feel each other. And so when you don't have that level of confidence, people know. And any little bit of doubt that you cast at all is basically could lose you the deal. Okay. You sit in front of them and you just, your energy shifts. And this is what I talk about, managing your energy. We don't have time to get into this, but somebody's at a listing appointment and the seller asks a hard question and you're not prepared for it. And then all of a sudden you stammer, you stutter. And instead of just saying, hey, I don't know the question of that, but I'll find out, you wing it. And then you start getting hot. You start sweating a little bit because you're winging it and they know you're winging it.
They know it.
Yeah. And it's just a subtle energy shift. Okay.
Yeah.
And for you to recover from that, if you can recover quickly, I mean, when you're really in the game, your recovery from that, you're still going to get it, but it's a nanosecond recovery. It's like, dang, I'd be like, dang, what's up? I high five them. Like, nobody's ever asked me that question. That's a good question. I've sold, and if it's not you, you say, my office has sold hundreds and hundreds of homes. We've never even had that problem, or I've never even heard of that problem being a problem. However, since it's a problem for you, let me find out the answer to that and let me get back with you. Would that be okay? 24 hours is all I need. Yeah. Now, let me show you how we're going to get your home sold. Boom. I pivoted the conversation. You see how I do that? So, it's, you have to be able to, anyway, I'm getting on a rabbit trail, but confidence is so important, man. Confidence is super important. Yeah.
Knolly, you're amazing. I can't thank you enough for jumping back in here. Really embodying what the whole Expert Mentor Live series has been all about, and really coming from a place of contribution, adding value, things that people can take away from this call and apply immediately, that even from a mindset perspective shift, or even an actual tactical item that they can apply will immediately help their business, not only now, but well into the future. So, brother, I thank you so much.
Man, I appreciate you, brother, for having me.
Yes, sir.
It's been fun.
See you.